Welcome to episode 103 of the Nerd Social Club. It is good to be back. We've been away for probably about a month, haven't we? We've been away for a month because of holidays and scheduling and just different things. But now we are back and we are going to try and make this a regular spot every week, Wednesday nights or Wednesday evenings in America. Around 12:30 UK time. I know it's late, guys, but what else are you doing? And we're going to try and make this a regular spot every week where we do a show live. We always do it on my YouTube channel, Toffee TV. Although Nerd Social Club does have a YouTube channel, but it's a little bit low on numbers at the moment, and we just want to build this up. And once we feel like it's at a point where we can go over to that YouTube channel, then we'll take it over. But that's just in the meantime while we're trying to build the show up again, because we know that it's been because we haven't been on, but we're back and we're gonna try and make this work every single week because we both want to do it. It's just that I don't like going to bed, regardless of what is said out there about me at 5 o'clock in the morning.
He's a vampire.
I am a vampire. Like especially in the summer months when I was going to bed when it was light, and then so we're gonna try and make this stick. We're gonna try and make this stick every week. We're gonna try and have Astro with us, who, if you have been watching my stuff on Toffee TV, you'll all have been enjoying his amazing wrestling promo match reactions. And what's even better about that is he actually sent us a video of him on WCW in 1998, baby.
1998, baby.
Where he basically he cut a promo with WCW about Hulk Hogan, and it is absolutely incredible. I don't even know what the backstory is that, and we need to find out what the backstory is, Aaron.
I know. It's just like he sent us this clip and he's like, "Oh, I've been trying to find this." And I was like, I thought when I watched it, I didn't read it without like any of the backstory, and I was like, "Wow, he looks dead young there." And he says 1998. I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "What is this gold?" We are
Hogan, maybe in 1984, Hogan at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
he's like, "You might have been the man, but this isn't Madison Square Garden, and this isn't 1984. It's 1998." Baby, it's just amazing, and he's got shades on, and he looks a bit like Hawkeye.
Oh, yeah.
He looks.
I didn't pick that up, but
well, maybe you should become a better fan of Marvel.
Whoa, I'm feeling attacked. Where's my
right? We want to. Now, another thing about this show is like this is a restart for us in a way. It's not, but what we have been doing over the last few weeks is we've been doing a lot of reviews of shows and movies that kindly we've been getting sent to us by Disney and Netflix and Apple TV. So make sure you check them out. We have been doing reviews. It's mostly Aaron's work. I'll be honest, I don't do any reviews. I sometimes voice them, which Aaron very nicely gives me the credit for, but I just voice them very poorly. So they're over on our YouTube channel if you haven't seen them. The likes of Jungle Cruise, the likes of Masters of the Universe, the first 3 episodes of What If, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, which we were very lucky to see. We've only had the first 3, and I think we're not getting any more, so we'll have to watch it like everybody else now. It's just fine. Do you know what we were actually?
You say it's fine, but I'm not okay with it. I'm used to be treated like a star now.
I'm not okay with the fact that we didn't get a certain film, but I'm not going to say anything more about that. But we also got like the whole of Ted Lasso, and I stopped watching it, and I'm watching it week by week now. One of the reasons was because the special effects weren't in it, and when I say special effects, it's weird that there's things like stuff on the TV, and when they're playing in the Christmas episode, they're playing the computer game. There's no actual computer game on the TV. That was put in afterwards.
I was gonna say, it completely took me out because you're seeing it like just sitting there playing video games, and then it flashes to the screen and it's black. And the first time I saw it, I was looking at my wife. I was like,
"They're not playing."
What?
I wonder if that was like a right. I wonder if that was like a rights thing. Like they were
I was
waiting to
going to
get
say
the
they were
rights.
well, they must have been trying to scramble to see like what they could get the rights for to show. But
Yeah.
there was another one where they do like they're looking at like train. I think it's his last episode that was on, and they're watching like training playback or the last game they played playback, and they're watching the TV and it's just like the blank TV with like stickers on the sides, and I'm like, I just it completely took me out of it when I was watching.
Yeah, that's
it
why
the
I'm
screen
watching
and
week
stuff.
by
Like
week.
no one else sees this. It's just from what we get. But
If you are watching live you're in the comments, make sure you jump in when we're chatting about certain stuff. Not football though, because this isn't. I don't know if you noticed. This
other
is
than
not
Ted
a
Lasso.
Yeah, other than Ted Lasso, this is not a football show. So this is a film and movies podcast. So let's jump in.
Talking about Ronaldo.
No, we will definitely not, unless he's in the Spider-Man trailer. Spider-Man trailer did drop. It's been massively anticipated. We've all been waiting for it. We were like sitting there just waiting for the time. We were told it was going to be the middle of the night, and it dropped. And it is crazy. Like, obviously, it follows on from straight after the end of the last Spider-Man movie, and then we know that it's out there. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. We've also been getting links, obviously, for the last year or so about who was going to be in it, but we didn't quite know how it was all going to come together. Obviously, off the back of Loki, which we'll talk about in a little bit more of that has been revealed, but the major plot point in it about basically erasing the fact that people know who he is, I did not see that coming. I did not think that was going to be the plot. It is a comic book, a much hated comic book called One More Day, I think it's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where basically Mephisto erases the fact that Spider-Man's came out as Peter Parker in Civil War comic.
Yep, which is a big deal at the time.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Everyone hated it because it basically retconned the whole of Spider-Man, what had happened to him ever, basically give him a reset.
That was the interesting thing, because the Mephisto transforms himself to look like Doctor Strange, because you're seeing those like kind of parallels. So he doesn't realize at the time, he thinks he's working with Doctor Strange, and then he unwittingly does a deal with the devil. And
there is a scene in this trailer when the scene with the train, and that Doctor Strange looks quite dark and sinister. Like, obviously we don't know the context of that, but he reminded me actually of the Doctor Strange we've seen in the trailers of the what if Doctor Strange, like really dark.
Yeah.
So
and he doesn't have the cloak either.
No, I'm really interested to see it, because like straight. I'm not like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not Doctor Strange at the beginning of the trailer when he does the little wink. But something just feels a little bit off about Doctor Strange in this trailer. So towards the middle of it, and then obviously we get everything that's gone on. That's an alarm from Doctor Strange saying I'm evil.
Listening.
Yeah, but really, really interesting, and it looks just like it's gonna be absolutely mental.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, since this trailer's dropped, one of the big achievements it's had is it's the now most viewed trailer, like a couple 100 million ahead of Endgame.
Wow.
So this has been watched in droves, which shocked me. I didn't think it would do bigger numbers than Endgame first of all. But then the other thing is that's interesting is Far From Home so far is the film that takes place most out of Endgame. Like everything we've seen since on Disney Plus, as far as like the Marvel TV shows, have been like a couple of weeks out, a couple of months out, but like still not past Far From Home. So it's kind of interesting now, because this movie itself is going to be the only one that we know of, because we still don't know with Eternals where really that's taking place. So this is going to be the one that's kind of like furthest out as far as the timeline goes.
Yeah, I thought, like, I was just thinking about this yesterday when I seen the trailer and I seen the idea, the idea that it comes straight off the back of the last one, and obviously the last one was like a couple of years ago now, was it? 18 months, a couple of years ago now?
2019, yeah. Like August 2019, yeah.
Time has become like has become nothing, hasn't it? Let's be honest. Time has become nonsense.
Time is an illusion.
But I thought, one thing I was thinking is that I think it was really clever that Marvel built that 5 years into it, because it gives them that catch-up period. So films like this, even though it's a couple of years after the last one and it's supposed to happen straight after that one, it's still in the future, in our time. It's still like it's still like 2024, isn't it? Yeah. I think. Yeah. So it's still in the future. So it gives films, it gives all these films an opportunity to catch up into that time. So it almost feels like these films can all come one by one in terms of the MCU, relatively close to each other. In our time, they'll be like, every 6 months. Yeah. And by the time almost we get to the next Avengers film, we will actually be around, it will be about 2025, 2026. So the times should basically start matching up with each other then, which I think that was a really clever thing to do, to just have that time gap, to just give them that little bit of breathing time, to allow these films, because there was always going to be films, because you were going to introduce so many new characters and things like the Eternals. There was always going to be a big, massive movie slate that had to come one after one. But in terms of, like you just said there, in terms of the movies, would all be happening around the same time, like the original films that came out in the MCU, like the fact that like we had the Iron Man and then we had Hulk, and they were relatively close to each other in terms of the timeline. Yeah. We have Tony Stark who walks in at the end of Hulk, and it's supposed to have happened barely weeks after. So we're having that again, and what they've done is they've built in a little bit of time, and I think that was really clever.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. I mean, obviously, I don't know what the original intention of that was, because obviously everything's been messed up a little bit with the pandemic, obviously. But
we've had a pandemic.
Apparently, as far as I'm aware, but. I mean, it's kind of helped them out, doesn't it? I don't know what the original intention was with that 5-year gap. I don't know if it was just because they wanted to say, you know what, like, let's just move it ahead of time, because then we don't have to worry about. And if we want to go back, we can do some stories within that period. So, like you said, it just gives them a bit of breathing room, a bit of creative bandwidth to be able to play with that as and when they want to go back and, retcon some stuff if they need to.
And also, obviously, in the film as well, it was important that there was going back to Endgame, it was important that they had a gap anyway, just to show you that they had life was starting to become normal in a way for everyone, but for them it wasn't, and it was like you had to see that even though it was 5 years. For them, it was still, the world was still terrible. So, but no, it just looks really interesting, and when you see the moments of them, like almost the buildings going very Inception and very much like Doctor Strange, it just seems so out there, and the idea of what happens, of how universes collide with each other and why that happens. And of course, when we see the spell go wrong, we see flashes of like the galaxy, of almost like in Loki, that where the sacred timeline was.
It was almost like the time at the end of time, like that almost like that dimension outside looking at the sacred timeline.
It just, as I said, it just looks so interesting. Like even little things like what the hell? Why the hell was the sanctum full of snow? Like what the hell's going on there?
Well, and you know what? Like, I've watched a lot of breakdown videos because I'm obsessed, and I've got so many different theories going, so many different directions. But the one thing I still haven't seen anyone point out, I don't know if it's Wong, just as Peter first,
it's not Wong. It's not Wong. It's not Wong.
Who is it? There's a guy over to the left, like cleaning up snow.
Up the snow.
No one's mentioned that.
Yeah,
like,
I think
what's
one
his
video.
Story?
I think one video I've watched, barely mentioned that there was someone cleaning up, which makes it sound like something has just happened, like he's got a spell wrong, and maybe he's got a spell right.
He's hired the janitor,
and maybe it's like I I don't know. Maybe he's just done something like to do with the snow, and he's quite like high on it because he seems very high on it. Do you know what I mean? He seems like when he walks in and he's like, "Can you do this spell?" He's like, "Yeah, of course I can do this spell. Come on, come do the spell." Winky wink and all that, and it's like he seems very high on himself, which is really interesting as well. So,
but though it must have been some time though, because he's obviously got the big winter coat and he's got his college hoodie on and stuff like that.
That's amazing. His winter coat costume. It's amazing.
Well, I was gonna say, did you notice the cup as well?
Yeah.
I liked it because obviously it's a little tongue in cheek, but then I didn't know if it was a little nod as far as like Fox content as well. Like, because that's the thing as well with this whole thing. It just opens up so many possibilities in the direction it goes. Like, there's just, and that's what I love about this trailer. Like, one thing I did kind of wonder is, and we've talked about this, we've seen the trailers when it's happened, but do we think anything we saw in the trailer currently is fake?
It's not real.
Misdirection.
So obviously when Doc Ock comes on screen, I don't he's either talking to Tobey Maguire Spider-Man,
okay,
or he's already met our Spider-Man, and it's not the first time he's come across him, because I just can't see how he would be able to. He would know who he was. I was gonna say the only thing I've seen that is like not the only explanation. There's loads, but like Tom Holland, Peter Parker is already in his Spider-Man suit, so it's kind of like, but I'm going to assume whoever's in the Spider-Man suit is Peter Parker. But it could have been Miles Morales. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
he's very confident about who he is, isn't he? And that suggests to me like it's not him, but we'll wait and see. You know what I mean? We'll wait and see. They're the kind of things. I also think like, don't be dicking around, by the way, and pretend the Green Goblin's in it, and then he's not, because there will be murders. The blood will run through the streets. Riots. Blood will run through the streets. Honestly, if it's not the Green Goblin, like they have to be like all. I mean, I know like there's loads of different things in the trailer, which the people saying Lizard, Sandman. You obviously have Green Goblin, Electro. I mean, Electro's in it anyway, so that's fine. It's like we get 5, don't we, of the Sinister Six. So we don't know where that other one's going to be, whether it's going to be Vulture or whoever. So, yeah, there'll be little things. I said the thing that really intrigued me was that train scene. And also the scene when he astro projects Spider-Man, Peter Parker, out of his body.
Oh, he's got like Peter's got his hand in like this, almost like a Pandora's box.
And that's the thing that I find really interesting. Yeah. That I think is like the MacGuffin. I think that's the thing where whatever's happened, he said that's the only way to sort it out. But like Doctor Strange going, no, you can't do that. Only I can do that or something. But Peter takes it upon himself, and maybe that's where the train thing comes from. Maybe Peter is on the train and Doctor Strange is after him for whatever reason. But Doctor Strange looks
something he wants or something.
But he looks seriously like evil in that scene.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's something about like certain movies where people get possessed or they're darker. They tend to look a bit like thinner around the cheeks, like a bit darker, a bit more menacing and serious, and he has that look.
Yeah, he does. He looks possessed. He looks like there's something else going on in it, which would be really.
So that's I was gonna say, and that's one of my theories about this is that because the moment of the spell, like everyone's saying, like, why would Doctor Strange just get in and like do this spell to like mess up reality? Well, I mean, he's a master of the mystic arts for one. Like, and if the spell is relatively easy, he's like, yeah, it's fine. It's just a memory wipe. It's not that big of a deal. But my thing is a couple of theories. Is as he's doing the spell, it coincides with what's going on with Loki. So now you've got like the TVA's gone. You've got that like security of keeping the secret timeline and, like whatever the bandwidth is basically. But once that's now gone, he's trying to do this spell and it doesn't interact the same way. You know what I mean? Like when you're doing science, you have certain variables, and you know, like
Yeah.
baking a cake, you know, you have your measurements cut out, you know what you're doing. But now that bandwidth, that security is gone, it's like screwed everything up. So
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
trying to pull on the multiverse, and it's gone. Like it's all different directions. So that's what throws him off. But my other theory is someone's waiting in the wings in another dimension, knowing that TVA is gone, and like jumps in, and like maybe there's a possession, like a nightmare character or Dormammu or
Mephisto.
yeah.
It's Mephisto. Yeah, I mean, listen, one thing which is going to be dead interesting is how they're going to juggle all this, because you've got all these characters, and don't get me wrong, I don't honestly think we're going to get loads of these characters. I think
the focus will be Tom Holland, and I think others will get.
I think Doctor Strange is going. I think Doctor Strange is going to be the bad guy for most of this film. I genuinely do. It's that thing of like we see in other films, like the bad guys, you know, the good guys are going against. It's like Civil War kind of thing, isn't it? It's like Civil War going against each other. One's saying one thing, one's saying another thing, you know, and you know the genie's out the bottle, and Doctor Strange has to put it back in, and then Peter Parker might be doing another thing, you know, so it's gonna be fascinating.
Who's the worst villain you can have when you're in an espionage film? Like, it's always your own assets, your own agents, the ones that know inside and out. They're the dangerous ones. So it's kind of like, again, like you said with Civil War, the dangerous ones are what if you've got heroes with conflicting opinions about what's supposed to happen?
That's it. Like, you know, it's a mystic Civil War. It's a mystic Civil War, I think. It's going to be, it's just going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how much these other people are in it, how much Doc Ock's in it, how much, and also Doc Ock, if anyone's seen it, Doc Ock in the video, his arms are all red, meaning that they're in control. So if you go back to Spider-Man 2, if you remember, deep cut this. So obviously in Spider-Man 2, he is basically, the arms are attached to the nerves in his neck. So basically they're just controlling him. They're making him evil. And at the end, Spider-Man says, you know, fight it. And he fights it and he gets control, and he's like, I'm in control now, and they all turn white. But in this, they're all red, which means they're in control. So that's an interesting point as well. So
yeah, well, I was going to say, because I think some people are upset with like bringing Doc Ock in and making him evil, because the end of that film, like, he has this like
redemption,
heroic. Yeah, he has this heroic redemption where, you know, I think it's a nuclear bomb or whatever, a fusion bomb or whatever. Yeah, and he saves it, and he's like, oh. Well,
it's expanding. It's like a, you know, the power he's created is expanding, and it can't be stopped, and he has to take it down to the bottom of the Hudson.
Yeah, so like it's kind of like you don't like. So without undoing that, like you said, like seeing the arms have taken control, like that's the AI has kind of gotten control of the body, and that's who Doctor Strange is. It's not the scientist, it's the machine.
And what I think is also what could be, you know, we've seen in the last Spider-Man film, Far From Home, that there was a suggestion that all of the Sinister Six were going to be in that as well. When we had the trailers, we had all the different elements, you know, of the Sinister Six were in it, you know, suggesting that they were going to be in it. But of course, it was Mysterio pulling the strings behind it. And I just wonder whether that is. I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of that as well in this, where in the trailer it's suggesting all these people are in it. But I just wonder whether it's going to be something similar where you're only seeing glimpses of them as they fall, rather than them being in this Earth, whether it's Spider-Man and Doctor Strange falling through their Earths. Do you know what I mean? So rather than them, instead of all them coming to, you know, Earth 616, instead of that happening, we see the ground basically open up. So what if they're falling through into everyone else's? So they're going through the multiverse to these other Earths, and it just so happens that they keep falling into that Spider-Man Earth and that Spider-Man, and they're only there for a quantum leap, essentially. They're there for a moment, and then they're out, And you see glimpses.
That's a good insight, because obviously this film is going to tie directly into Multiverse of Madness. So there's got to be an element,
the bleeding into each
film.
other.
Exactly. So there's got to be an element in this film where it's almost like serves as a bigger origin story for another film. So I think there's gonna be a lot in this film that doesn't get addressed. Like you're gonna go through it and like, I want to see this like Doctor Strange film now. Like there's got to be something that goes through to connect it. So I think there's going to be a lot of big questions answered that won't be asked until the next film. Like I think Spider-Man will teeter out of it, but then you'll have Doctor Strange go wherever he goes.
Do you think? Just getting away from that? Do you think by the end of this film that he will be, will have his anonymity back? Do you think he will lose those people around him, or because it can only really go one or two directions, and everyone knows or nobody knows. So I'm a little bit like,
I think it's gonna end up in a, because it almost feels like one of those like it's got like a moral to it. It's got a teaching moment at the end of this. Like,
do you think Mr. T's gonna come on at the end and say, "Kids, don't do drugs"?
I do. Like an
don't be a fool.
Special.
Yeah.
Don't smoke. No.
Crack.
Well, because I mean, at some point, Doctor Strange confronts him and he says, "You're trying to live two lives and you can't do it." And I mean, that was kind of like the crux of the prior two Spider-Man films with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. It's kind of been done and dusted. And if you look, all the other Marvel heroes,
they're all out.
Secret identities.
But I thought that was weird. That was like, I've done it this far, mate. Do you know what I mean? I'm like 17 and actually I can do it because my girlfriend knows, my best mate knows, and my auntie knows. So it's
I just wonder if the take, instead of going the whole like he's going to become a photographer and he's going to go work for the do all that stuff, like rather than taking that, they're just going to skip ahead and say, no, we're just going to age him up a bit now. So like because we've talked about it, right?
Yeah,
we have picked him as the next leader of the Avengers. So how do you get from there? So, and I think this is how you do it. Him accepting responsibility and being accountable and just saying, okay, I'm Spider-Man. I can't live a normal life. I have to take on this role.
We'll see. I find it very interesting. It's
my question.
That's what's great about it, though. Go on.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. This trailer showed enough to get us all thinking, what the hell is going on? Because there's so many different ways this can go. And I love it when it's like...
Imagine it was like everything we've seen was the first 10 minutes.
Well, I was going to say, wasn't that Endgame for the most part? Like when we see an Endgame, it's like, yeah, it just covers like the first like 20 minutes. And after
that'd be amazing.
No clue. Yeah, no, I'd be completely okay with that. But one of my questions is for you.
Go on.
Do you think opening up the multiverse and addressing all these different potential Spider-Man that are going to be in this, do you think when we end this, we're going to have a Marvel Spider-Man and a Sony Spider-Man?
No, because Tom Holland is such an important character for both franchises. That's why they fought over him for so long. I think what it allows is Sony access to Tom Holland, and it also may, for the short term, allow access for other characters. I think what it suggests, I think if you put all this into business practice, it all suggests that whatever happens can't be undone.
Okay.
In a way, because then why would you've opened the door. They've opened the door to literally create a way of getting Deadpool, the mutants, Fantastic Four,
I was to say your
Venom
and your Morbius,
yeah, all into one world with the MCU and Spider-Man to cross over. Why would you mess around with that? I think if that, maybe it'll be a case of like, maybe it'll be a case of when it redeems itself, whenever it does, when Kang is sorted, if that's what's going to end it all, or whatever. everyone's in the same place, essentially. But I mean, I know that's a bit weird. But that sort of happened in DC when they did the crossovers in the Arrowverse. They had all these worlds, and when they had the last big crossover, all the worlds were getting destroyed, and at the end of it, they sorted it all out, and everyone was on the same Earth. Just so that for the TV show, it was like we've got
or whatever it was.
Yeah, we've got continuity, everybody, and I don't know whether they'll do that because that would be mental. But
see, I was thinking, maybe like there's some sort of sharing arrangement. Like I think that Sony will still have access to Holland, but I wonder if you use like a Maguire or a Garfield now they're a bit older.
They're old men.
Maguire. I was to say Maguire's 46. He's basically into the Spider-Verse sweatpants Peter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm wondering if they use something like that to then introduce a Miles and have this live action, because at some point Sony brought on Lord and Miller, gave him loads of money, and they're supposed to be developing all these different Spider-Man projects. So eventually you're going to have all of these different things going on, whether it's, I don't know whether they're doing TV or shows, because we are rumored to be getting a Spider-Woman film as well, which is Jessica Drew. So I just wonder, like, again, if we're getting all these live action Spider-Man, like how it's going to be divvied up, like what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Like, does it lead potentially to like a Sony doing a live action Spider-Verse as well?
Possibly so. Mac O'Shea in the comments says, very weird that they dropped the trailer before Shang-Chi has come out, but burying it already. I think they're scared of another Black Widow type flop. No, come on. This trailer should have been out about 6 months ago. This film is out.
I was going to say Eternals dropped a trailer as well, so
yeah, this film is out in 3 months. What they're trying to do is trying to get hype for Shang-Chi. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get people back in the cinemas. They're trying to say to people, like, they made a mess of Black Widow. We know that. I've said at the beginning of the year when HBO Max dropped their slate, I was like, they are getting this completely wrong. They're making a mess of this. They are basically saying to people, you don't have to go to the cinemas. And I knew this was going to happen, and it happened with Black Widow. They got it completely wrong with Black Widow. They should have just dropped it in the cinemas and give it a month, and then put it on Disney Plus. Because what they did was they just completely destroyed the box office. Because not only within within a week did everyone stop going to see it, but it was available everywhere on the, as in pirated. If you wanted to watch Black Widow the week after, you could watch it. It wasn't hard. I mean, we were lucky. We got quality. Yeah, because people were just typing it directly off Disney Plus. Now we were lucky. We got screeners beforehand, which basically stopped me going to the cinema to see it. Because I'd already seen it. Yeah. Now they got it wrong, and now it's destroyed the relationship with one of the biggest stars, and the big star of Black Widow, where she'll probably never work for Disney again, and that's completely wrong because some dick.
No, I was going to say, because we didn't hear recently as well that she was supposed to be in a Disney Tower of Terror film, and
and
whole
she's
thing's
gone.
been scrapped. Yeah,
and that's a joke. They got that completely wrong. It should have been a month in the cinema, and then it comes on Disney Plus for like a VOD thing. And they got it. They went for the bottom line, and they destroyed that. And everyone's now calling it a flop. It's not a flop. It's not a flop.
I was going to say I have issues with things being called flops.
Oh, I hate that.
Because you can't deem any, like, you're benchmarking it against the performance of prior films, but we're in a completely unanticipated period of time with the pandemic. Like, what do you do? Like, it's so hard because that's the thing. Like, you say with Black Widow, like it would have been interesting to see had Disney gone that route if it had performed better. But I mean, I guess is that how we're deeming the success of a film or a show or whatever? Like how much it makes at the box office.
I'd really like to know what the numbers were for it on Disney Plus, and how many people watched it. I think Disney should have brought that out to offset these numbers, because I think it's totally unfair that people are saying it's a flop. No, it's not a flop. The simple fact is, in its first week, it did major numbers, and then it dropped off a cliff the second week. Well, why? Because people go to see...
Most movies are doing at the moment.
People go to see the movies in the first week, and if they can't get in, people have busy lives now. You know, it's not... A lot of people go weekend by weekend rather than in the week. And everyone who wanted to see it will have seen it in the first week on the cinema, and then it would have dripped, and then people would have gone, oh, I can't really be bothered. It's on the TV. I just watch it on the TV. And so there's your audience right there. And for me, it's completely wrong.
I was going to say, instead of like, you know, I think with Endgame, I heard people going like 3-4 times to go see it. But it's tough. It's tough as well because, again, not only that, but, you know, you've still got a pandemic raging around. Like, you've surely got to have a population there that's just like, yeah, it's either I'm not going to the cinema because you know, I don't want to spread it around.
Well,
I don't want to catch it.
But the thing about it is,
there could be cinemas that have just shut down as well.
But the thing about it is, right, it's not a flop, right? It's not a flop because it had 1 week in the cinema. It doesn't matter if it was in the cinema and it's still in cinemas now. It had 1 week in the cinema. It's as simple as that. Because people, if you give people people go to the cinema the week. People don't go the first week when something's out. They'll go the following week or the following. They might have something on the first week, and then they'll go the week after. Because if that's the only way to see it, yeah, I've been watching things on TV. Like I've been watching a lot of the movies that made us on Netflix, and they're like, Pretty Woman was it stayed in cinemas for 9 months. And it was like, yeah, because the VHS market didn't dictate the cinema then. The VHS market wasn't strong, so therefore, if you could keep a movie in the cinema, in the movies, you kept it in there because it helped everyone. Going on VHS didn't help people. Yeah,
like even the market in general, there wasn't as many movies coming out. You didn't have streaming service. There was very little competition in that entertainment space in relation to what we have now. Like, Jesus. You're spoiled for choice, which is great. It's great.
So, Shenji, listen, I'll go and see it because it's the only way to see it, and I want to see it. Eternals, I'll be there to see it. Spider-Man, I'll be there to see it. And what Marvel are saying is, now I think is, this is the only way to see things. And I think actually the star of it, the guy who's playing Shang-Chi, actually came out the other day on an Instagram post and said when the CEO of Disney was like, this will be a big experiment. He's like, we are not an experiment. We are a multicultural movie, and we are here to do well. Don't be calling our film an experiment. And I was going to say
that was really insensitive. I couldn't believe he came out. It was like, oh yeah, we're going to experiment, and you're like, oh man, like it's the first Marvel Asian-led film. Like that's just
So Disney got it. It's more Disney because I don't think Kevin Feige wanted it to. Kevin Feige wants these films to come out. Kevin Feige's like the manager of the football team, like, and the people above him are the chairman, who it's all the shareholders. He's like the manager who's wanting to look after all his star players and the team and everything. Yep. It's the people above him. He wants that. He doesn't want to fall out with Scarlett Johansson. He's worked with her for 10 years. He's like over a contractual thing. So, hopefully,
Which I still don't get that whole thing as well. They could. I don't understand why they didn't just renegotiate a contract. Like it baffles me, to be honest.
But,
like,
and on the other side,
why you do yourself no favors in this? You know what I mean? Like,
but also though, just on Black Widow, just to finish off on that point, Black Widow is a mid-tier Marvel film. Also, like, you can't put also the numbers that. It wouldn't. I don't think it would ever have made $1 billion anyway, and that's become like the bar. And I don't think it would ever have made $1 billion. Like, it was a movie,
I think we covered this in our review, and I think we talked about it as well on one of the last pods. We were actually there, but like, it's come at a poor time because like the character's already dead. So like, there's less draw for it. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still a great film. I loved it.
No, I really liked it.
It's hard because like it should have come really a couple of years early. So there's a lot of variables going into the mix. And again, I don't think you can only judge a film by how much it makes, because I tell you what, Justice League made like 860 million when it first went around. And it wasn't a great film. There's loads of films. How many films you go back and like well, Blade Runner. I think Blade Runner originally, when it came out, was like massive flop in the cinema, but it's a fantastic film.
Yeah,
not the cinema.
And also, it was also like it's in a weird space as well. It'd be interesting to see what happens when the fallout from it goes into and we get Hawkeye basically. It'd be interesting to see where people pick up on that thread again. But
yeah, I think some of the things is as well, like there's a lot of promotion going on and trying to get people hyped to get back to the cinema. Like the reason Spider-Man has came out because it was I think we were in Vegas for CinemaCon. So it's just it's building on that promotion, like you said. It's building on that Marvel name.
Yeah, we haven't had cons. We haven't had the ability to promote things, and this is given now the ability to promote things. And I think you've got to have. There's never been any problem in previous times with things crossing over with each other. In fact, Marvel didn't even want the last Spider-Man to come out so quickly after Endgame because they were terrified that something would be revealed about Endgame with it being coming so close. It came out a month later. Marvel wanted that out a year later.
Do you remember they had to put after the trailer came out, Tom Holland comes out and like, if you haven't seen Endgame, don't watch this trailer. They had to put that like cautionary little piece on the front of the trailer for it.
Yeah. So, it's going to be interesting. So that's going to be interesting. Just off the back of Spider-Man, just to sort of move on from Spider-Man, something I wanted to talk about as we just have a little chat about Loki is something I've noticed is that so far in terms of the TV shows, I get the feeling. Someone's actually asked a question here, which I'll just go back up. Paul said, "I've seen all the Marvel films. What else would you suggest to watch Marvel-wise? All the TV shows and What If, which I know we've got a couple of questions about What If, and we'll come into that in a minute.
Yeah,
all the TV shows that are on Disney Plus. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, which obviously come before that, and Loki. We're getting later in the year Miss Marvel, and we're getting Hawkeye, and we've got What If at the moment, which is, whether you like animation or not, a massively important show. Like, I can't stress that enough. A lot of people may be choosing to ignore What If, but honestly, it's so important to watch. The only reason it's in animation is because there's no way it could be made as shows. It would cost billions just for an episode, especially last week's episode.
I was going to say, and you're kind of recreating some of the movies. Like, animation just gives you so much more creative freedom to kind of redo that. Like, so, and again, you're just you're putting out some cool stories, but you could thread something in that has the potential for an impact.
So my point was, off the back of this trailer for Spider-Man and the way that it almost suggests that Doctor Strange is creating the multiverse, which was hinted at in the first Doctor Strange. Do you think that maybe Marvel and Disney are trying to almost bypass these shows at the moment to educate the fans on watching them and giving them, the people who are not watching it, the benefit of the doubt? And the reason I say this is, if you haven't watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, and you now see that Captain America 4 is coming out, which it is, and Sam is playing Captain America, you didn't need to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, even if it was a good show, because you saw the shield getting passed over to him at the end of Endgame by Steve. So you didn't need that show, really. If you haven't watched that show, if you see Captain America and it's Sam, you'd be like, yeah, we've seen him get the shield. And WandaVision, well, it'll be interesting to see what gets revealed about WandaVision in the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange 2, to show whether you did need to watch that or not. And I'm just going to say you do need to watch these shows. I always say that Marvel asks one thing of you, and that is just to watch the shows and the films. That's all it asks of you. It puts everything out there and pretty easy to understand, but you've got to watch them. You've got to watch them. Yeah. And I'm just wondering whether Spider-Man is just almost retconning that Loki what's happened in Loki, because we sit here and we watch the end of Loki and we're like, oh my god, it was amazing, it's changed the world forever, it's this, it's that, it's the other. And then you see this trailer and you think to yourself, are they going to say like Loki did this and with Kang, or are they going to say Doctor Strange did this? Or, you know what I mean? That's what it feels like. Yes, Loki has now created the multiverse and it's there, but it almost feels like Doctor Strange, certainly coming off what happened in Doctor Strange 1, that they're not going to mention Loki maybe till Multiverse of Madness, and they're going to be like, yeah, that was like always there, and we're just now playing around in it. Do you know what I mean? Almost like just saying the TV shows, you do need to watch them, but we're just going to let you off this year, even though what else would you have been doing? So I do get that feeling that just by this trailer, they're basically going, no, all that stuff that happened in Loki, yeah, that's a thing, but that's not the thing, even though it is when you watch it. If you watch Loki, it is the thing that creates all this drama that's going to happen in this film, and is going to happen in clearly is going to happen in Doctor Strange 2. It just feels to me like they're just saying those TV shows, they're very important, but not, you'll start learning that down the road. You don't really need to know that now.
So one thing I'll say, and we've said it on the podcast so many times, is that, and we, in anticipation of the TV shows coming, and have done exactly what we've said basically, is that you can go ahead and just watch the films and just enjoy them, and you'll get, the main plot line. But what the TV shows are now doing is adding extra depth and character development. Like it's not necessarily needed, but anyone who's like an obsessive Marvel fan, loves it, because what do we say when we watch the movies? It's got levels. You can go in and just be like, oh yeah, it was a good film. You can go in and like, oh yeah, like this was from this film and this was from this film, and then you can go in as a comic fan and be like, oh, look at all the Easter eggs and those different levels. And again, I think like some of the movies are going to continue to have those levels, but now you've got that TV show element as well to kind of bring it in, because again, like you just said, you don't need to have seen like Sam as like Captain America necessarily, because we knew at the end game that's what he did, but we know as watching the show, like that was a struggle, like all of the things he was dealing with to take that over. So like it feels bigger, like having watched that now, like that he is owning that kind of like moniker. But I was going to say, as far as Loki goes, though, I think it's still connected. I don't know. Bypass, you know what I mean? Like, I think in Loki, it's almost like the security parameters. It's like an antivirus software. But like now that TVA is gone, it's just like open everything up. So now we're seeing, and like where you see kind of like the threads of the secret time and going, this is one of those moments where we're seeing it spin off based on what's happening. So we're getting like that first-hand reaction where had Loki not happened, I don't know if that would have been able to. So you need to happen to the. But for all general audiences, they don't need to know that.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I think the fact that Kang isn't coming into it till Ant-Man, and he's coming in at like a lower-end film, almost suggests that they are going to introduce him, and he's going to be like, "Yeah, I caused all this."
Yeah,
and then. They're going to like re-educate. They're going to educate people who haven't watched it slowly. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that relies on what happens in multi.
I was going to say it serves as such a good like promo. Like, you don't know more about Kang? Go watch Loki.
But that, I just wonder how much is going to be shown in Multiverse of Madness, and whether it's going to be like, you did this. This is your fault. Like you did this. You caused this, and it's going to be like the people who are in it are going to serve as the audience who haven't seen Loki, and they're going to think he is to blame for it, whereas Kang's going to come in Ant-Man 3 and be like, no, I caused all this. And by then we might have Loki 2 as well. I just thought that was quite interesting that they did that. I mean, it's not. I suppose
it's clever again. It's got those levels. So like for the main movie verse, like it just adds the bulk to it. Adds more.
To be fair, right?
Beef.
We're sitting here as like snobs, and we're like, go and watch everything. But I'm also a comic book reader who only dips into the big ones, And there's probably comic book readers going, you don't have a right to read that because you haven't read episode 483 when the death of Pivius Max Spoogle happens, and that kicks off the whole thing. And you have no right. So there's probably people saying the same thing for me on comic books.
I was going to say, and I've been on both sides of that. So when I first started reading comic books, I jumped in and read Secret Wars, like the main big event, and I was like, oh, that was really cool, like that was a good event. But then later I went back, there's 2 years worth of comics leading up to that whole thing. It's insane. But
at the same time, they know that people don't always read those events, read before the events. They just want they want to package these books up into trades, and they want to put them out so that people like me go and buy them and go, oh, this is the book from the film, and go out and buy Civil War, and then we'll go and buy the next one, but doesn't bother to buy all the ones in between. So I suppose it's been happening for years anyway. So we are getting that connective tissue.
Isn't it clever though, in a way though, because now you're saying like, how are we going to explain this? Like, how are we going to like make this matter? And you're like, don't need to. It's already been done over here. So now you've got that springboard to be like, oh great, we can do this, and it references here, and we're safe. So now you.
I just find it really interesting.
The story.
I just found it really interesting because people who watch that trailer will be thinking, if they haven't seen Loki, and they'll go into that film going, Doctor Strange caused all this. This is his fault. He's a big tit, right? But people who've watched Loki will be watching it going, people who watch Loki will be going, well, this is all because of what happened in Loki. And it's weird that you will get those two different sides, and neither of them are wrong. It's just that the thing Doctor Strange has caused, happens to happen within a multiverse that has been caused by Loki and by Kang, and that's what's really interesting. So I want people to watch everything because I want to have good conversations with people and don't want to ruin things when we do things like this. So all I would say is, when from the question there was, watch everything. Like, it's all there for you. It's on weekly, and why wouldn't you watch it? And it's the same with What If now. The 3 What If episodes. I'll just grab a couple of questions about What If from the comments. School of Science TV says the new What If was a tad weird. I hope Party 4 comes soon. So do I. And Mac O'Shea 83 says, you guys watch the new What If? Absolute crap. But that's his opinion, not mine. We've watched all 3 of them, and I thought the first one was good, but it didn't really move the needle because it was just swapping Peggy for Steve, and then a couple of things in it. Last week's episode,
it basically parallels that first one.
Last week's episode was absolutely brilliant. It had all of the space characters in it. Plus, you have Chadwick Boseman there playing the Black Panther as Star-Lord, and it was like, everything was amazing for me. Just tinged with that bittersweet sadness of knowing, these are Chadwick Boseman's last performances. But
not to mention, it was such a positive episode as well. But then you get to the very end, and you're like, if all this amazing stuff would happen, that means that X happens at the end, and you're like, oh man, like it's such a good little dialing it in.
And then you've got Thanos being like, genocide.
It was efficient.
It's efficient. It was random. It was fair. No, I thought that was brilliant. And then this week's episode, which was dark, and I'm not going to say too much because it's only been out a day, but it was dark, very dark. And to see the people that we've watched for the last 10 years in those situations was just like a little bit unnerving. But it was brilliant. It was absolutely.
I liked it because they set it up, don't they, at the beginning of the episode? Like when the Watchers introducing the scenario, it's like 3 different things happen within the space of a week, and you're like, wow, it's like the first couple of minutes, it's heavy,
and that goes back to prove what we were talking about before about things happening all at the same time. Yeah, in the MCU with like Iron Man 2, with Thor, and with the Incredible Hulk as well, or that as well. All these things happening all at the same time. But I've really enjoyed How many episodes are there of What If? It's like 15.
I believe there's 10 in the first season.
Okay. So
I think.
And you've got to remember that, like, this show is, at first it was like, oh yeah, it's What If, it's like the comic book, what if this happened? But now, because of what's happened in Loki, it is canon. It is happening. Yeah. It's just happening in the multiverse.
And I was going to say the directors of the show confirmed that as well. Like, oh no, this is all canon. It's not like a throwaway show.
Yeah.
It's just we're getting a looking glass into what's going on with the multiverse.
And in the first episode, Peggy Carter crosses over from, we don't know whether, I'm thinking she just goes into the future, but we'll have to wait and see. But what they're alluding to is that Peggy Carter, that version of Peggy Carter, is going to enter the MCU in films, which is just going to take it up another level. So anything that happens in it could become canon, and it's going to be dead interesting to see what happens in it. But it is now canon. But again, like everything else that's happening in these shows, you can probably take it or leave it. It's just up to you whether you're into these kind of things. I am into these kind of things. I'm really into these kind of things. So I was
going to say, I think some of the complaints I've heard about What If from like general fans is just the fact that they're only like 30-minute episodes, so the pace does tend to move fast because you've got to hit certain beats as you're going through, because each one has obviously, you know, a twist like What If, but you've also got to get to the end of the story. You've got 30 minutes, so you've got to get through. So I think what the showrunners are intending when you watch this is, you've watched the movies, we don't need to go over this again. But like, also, you know what's going on. Like, I think that was some of the issues that people had with this most recent episode, because I know I watched it with my wife, and when we got to the end with the big twist, she was like, well, who's that again? And for her it wasn't fresh in her mind, but for me,
you're a terrible husband for not making your wife watch all the Marvel films.
Paulie.
You've done
no, she's seen them all, she just didn't remember it. But there's a couple of people.
You should be watching every film every 6 months, surely.
I was debating on doing a whole.
That's on you. No, I've really, and that's why I probably really enjoyed last week's, was because it did go out of the dimensions. At first, it did feel like Guardians of the Galaxy, but then it soon turned into something else. It soon became its own thing, and
it turns up the dial for like you said, like Captain Carter started with a parallel. It was a good introduction to like a slight What If, but then you get into like that second episode and like, all right, we're gonna crank this up and
we're gonna change the parameters. And even this week's was like that, because it changed the parameters. It started off with a story we all knew, but then just changed it up, and it didn't have to follow on the same line, it didn't really matter the time for me on that then, because it became its own thing. So I've really enjoyed.
Do you know what I have found interesting about this last episode? And obviously I'm not going to say any detail behind it. There is a lot of debate going on about what the actual What If is, because in all of the episodes, the Watcher clearly defines What If, but he doesn't in this episode.
Okay.
So everyone's trying to find out or figure out. I know what it is, because we watch this. I don't know, you know what it is, but everyone's trying to figure out like, what is that nexus moment? Like, what happened to deviate everything to cause all this? So let us know. Come join our Discord and jump in the spoiler chat and let us know what you think it is.
I'll be honest, I think you just give me more credit than I deserve there, and I can't really say anything because it's this week's episode.
Hey, take it and just say, yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Have a think, Pat.
Was it that Baskin and Robbins didn't know? Is that what it is?
And I can't accept that. Baskin and Robbins always knows. They always find out.
They always find out.
Don't mess with Baskin and Robbins.
No, I've been enjoying it. We got an Eternals trailer as well last week, which basically answered all the questions we'd been asking. Where the hell were they, the gang of knobheads, when Thanos was causing trouble?
They were on Zoom singing "Imagine All the People."
Oh God. And the answer was they were told not to get involved in affairs of the humankind. Even though technically Thanos is like
An
basically
Eternal.
a bad guy, which they should have been dealing with. But again,
There's so much backstory behind this, which
yeah.
it's tough because it sounds weak on a trailer, but that's going to be one of those things. It's the draw. Like you need to go see the film because everything's going to get explained there.
This is the one for me.
Backstory.
This is the one actually. Do you know when you're talking about like saying there's some in the comments about Shang-Chi and getting a little bit worried about how it's going to do? This is the one for me that I'm not worried it's going to bomb. It's almost though. I just hope people don't go, oh, this is a Marvel thing, but it's a different Marvel thing. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything else. So therefore, there is no point going to see it. Like, they'll be like, oh, is this a Marvel thing? Yeah, but is it a real Marvel thing? Or is it just like one of those other Marvel things? I think in the last trailer they did, not this one, the one before that, where they mentioned Captain America and they mentioned Tony Stark. I think that was clever, but and I know there's not any more trailers, but I do think in the TV spots leading up to this, they have to put in more references. Like, I don't know how they'll do that, but I think they have to show.
I was going to say just a combination of the two and just have that ending meal scene at the end.
I know they do.
Because they talk about, like, oh, who's going to lead the Avengers now? Like, if they just put that in.
I know they do say about Thanos, and I know they say, like, you know, when Thanos, the snap happened, and they all came back, this launched all this energy that is helping this, you know, this event happen on Earth.
Yeah.
They have to like get that over to people that this, because obviously someone's just mentioned it in the comments. Tom02 says, do you think the Black Knight will suit up or not? The Black Knight is like a really important Avenger. Like he's an
original.
He's a proper Avenger, and he is going to become an Avenger, and they have to get that over. That's like. I was
to say, I think he was part of like Timely Comics, so like before it was actually Marvel. So yeah.
Just to answer your question, cool. I think he may suit up in the credits or something, or find out his lineage in the credits, because the Black Knight is something that's passed on in the family. And I think that might happen towards the end. I think this is going to be about the Eternals, but I just think they have to get that across better. Because I still think, you know, if you want people to go and see, you know, you look at the Shang-Chi trailer, it's got references to Marvel. It's got the Abomination. It's got
Wong.
You've got Wong there, and I know they're only really small, but it looks and it feels and like an Avengers film. It's got the 10 rings, which people will remember from, you know, Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 3. People will remember those little things. And I think they're getting that over really well, even by just having conversations going, it's the first real Marvel Asian character, and we have to get that over. And I've seen Kevin Feige talking about going, we wanted it in the past, but we didn't do it, you know, and Iron Man 3 introduced us to another Mandalorian and blah, blah, blah. They're getting it across.
Mandalorian?
Mandalorian, yeah, that's what I said. What the hell are you talking about? I just think they have to get that across. And don't forget, you've got people like Angelina Jolie coming out, and she can come out and talk about it like she's a big star. Selma Hayek and stuff like that. They can come out and talk about it and be like, yeah, it's got links, but, you know, we're our own thing. We're our own. They've just got to come out and make sure they tell everybody that this is a big Marvel thing, and this is gonna fill in like a lot of like the blanks of like where all these people come from and where Thanos comes from and all these things, and it's going to give us the backstory of the MCU as a universe. They've got to do that, and that, you know, I'm sure they will, because they're really, really good at this kind of thing. It's just that in these times,
they've got pretty good after 20 odd films.
Do you know one thing? I think they should utilize though, massively. I think they should be dropping like featurettes and things on Disney Plus. Like a minute to 3 minute long. I know they use YouTube, but why not utilize Disney Plus as a platform and put on there in that big scrolling thing at the top, you know, the Eternals featurette, where they have like a 3 minute featurette where
especially for the films, because you're already doing that for the shows. You've got the Disney Gallery series, which usually premieres like after the show's finished, which it's good. Everyone seems to really, really like it. So why not put that out there for your films as well?
Utilize that platform. It's going to be interesting.
No, I think with the Eternals, like you said, it's opening up the whole cosmic corridor, if you will. Like, and we've talked about this on the podcast. You're gonna, like, for anyone who's wondering, like, where is the MCU going? Like, what's the next big Avengers thing? I don't think there's gonna be a big Endgame type event. You're gonna have a lot of different paths. And it's interesting as well, because, like, if you look at Loki with, like, how the sacred timing went, that's kind of what the MCU is going to be doing. You're going to be following, like, more of the Earth-based events. You're going to be following, like, Doctor Strange and his magical events. You're going to be following, like, the cosmic events of, like, Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy and the Eternals. You're introducing Celestials. You're introducing Deviants. And eventually, you know, we're going to be getting, you know, further down the road, you know, with some other characters.
Tomo also says, think Black Knight will fight Rob Stark because of the love triangle they will be in. I do as well, and I actually think his character will end up being maybe a villain in this film. I think he may be a villain.
Icarus.
Yeah, I think I've noticed in the trailer he just seems a little bit off. Let's just say it seems a little bit off. Even the things of like, oh, I'll be the leader. No, you won't. You're a tit, right? Just those little things that suggest that. Because like we said before, like with Doctor Strange, sometimes the enemy comes from within. And I think it might be interesting. Let me just do a couple of questions here.
Go for it.
Mac O'Shea 83 says, did you notice the X-Wing in the second What If? I did not notice that. And I've not seen anyone else talk about it. And Yusuf says, is the new Spider-Man set before or after WandaVision? It is set about 6 months after, because WandaVision is set literally weeks after Endgame. Literally weeks. And if you remember, if you go back to Far From Home, that is 6 months later, is it?
Yeah, that's a summer trip that they go on Italy. Yeah. Endgame happened in October.
Yeah. So
it's like about 8 months.
8 months probably. And then this film carries on straight after it. So it's about 8 months. So this is after WandaVision. But the last film was also after WandaVision, but set before it. You got to get your head around it, hasn't it?
Timey-wimey.
Jake says, busy few months coming up for film releases. What film are you both looking forward to? My film I'm looking forward to is Spider-Man, but the other one I'm looking forward to is the new Ghostbusters film.
Is that coming out this year? I've lost track of when they're all.
I don't know, but it did show though for it did show at the con in Vegas for the
because it was.
Critics.
I was gonna say it was a Sony property, wasn't it?
And a lot of people were saying, you know, really it's good and fans will love it. It's got loads of callbacks and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. I can't remember it. I mean, Aaron's actually looking her up right now. You can see the way his brain, the way it starts bulging when he's got to find information. It's like that's if you're watching the video. If you're listening to the podcast, I don't mean absolutely nothing to you.
Apparently it was in November 11th.
Yes, apparently it was in the collector's collection. Oh, I'll go back and have a little look at that. Thank you.
I assumed in the collection there would be loads of little things.
Yeah, there'll be loads of little winks and nods and Captain America's shield and Thor's hammer. No, I'm really looking forward to Ghostbusters just because it just looks like an absolute nostalgia trip. One thing I would say about that, do you know Spangler's granddaughter in it is being played by one of the characters from Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
Okay.
She's been in a lot of things lately.
But she's younger in that.
McKenna.
Yeah, she's younger because it was made a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
She played one of the younger versions of Carol Danvers as well in Captain Marvel. When she had all the flashbacks and she I forget which one she is.
I think she played a younger version.
Go-kart one.
Yeah, I think she played a younger version of Sabrina as well.
She did. Yeah, she did.
She's a great she plays very good younger versions. One day she'll grow up.
Version of every woman.
Yeah, when she grows up, all her roles will dry up. Unless she's like, we're going to make a Titanic sequel based on the life of the woman after she's got off the Titanic. We'd like you to be the younger version of the older woman but an older version of Kate Winslet. Are you up for it? That's what's going to happen. She's like, no, I can't ride horses. Tomo says, I love the way Robb Stark's last words to Jon Snow is, next time I see you, you will be all black. And he turns out to be the Black Knight.
Whoa.
Boom! I know, and there's a Cersei in it.
Yeah.
Which is even madder. Yusuf says, where was Doctor Strange when Wanda was going crazy? Well, he was supposed to be in it, and COVID stopped him from being in it because he couldn't travel to America. Benedict Cumberbatch could not travel to America to fulfill the role.
I was to say, the word is, from what we heard, is all those like commercials where Doctor Strange's events to kind of like astral project and try and get through to Wanda without actually having to be there. But I mean, eventually they're going to have to meet up, and it'll be interesting if it's something in Spider-Man.
That's not what I heard. I heard either Grease or the bird was the word. That's what I heard. They were the two words I heard, either Grease or the bird. So you're just talking nonsense.
Bird is the word.
You're just talking absolute nonsense.
I'll have to get my person on the phone and tell him he's wrong.
Your word person.
My word person. You gave me faulty information. I heard the bird is the word.
There you go. I'm just trying to... what else were we going to talk about tonight? So we've talked about basically just a million Marvel things because we just like Marvel. We just like Marvel.
I was going to say, it's hard not to talk about what's going on with
Marvel
because you've got like Black Widow came out, you've got Shang-Chi's coming out, Eternals trailer, Spider-Man trailer. We still haven't seen a trailer for Hawkeye, and that's coming out in November.
That, what it is it's because of all that amazing DC content that comes out now all the time. Yeah. Although we are, listen, we're getting Batman, we're getting Flash, we're getting Bruce Wayne, we're getting it all. We are going to get some good DC properties.
And one of the things they've been doing as well, they've cast an actor for Batgirl, and that's going to be a movie on HBO Max. They've cast, I'm going to butcher his name, but the kid from Cobra Kai is going to be Jaime Reyes, which is Blue Beetle, and that's going to be a movie on HBO Max as well. So they've clearly got a plan. Like, we're not sure some of these characters, they're lesser known to the general population as far as DC characters, will go into towards the streamer.
Well, let me just throw some questions out a minute, and there's one that I've just seen. Jake Marley says Ghostbusters looks great. Love a good nostalgia trip. The cast looks fantastic, and the fact Jason Reitman is doing it makes me even more confident that it'll deliver. Yeah, there was a little featurette on that recently, and it does look really good, and it filled in a lot of the gaps, and it does look really good. Thoughts from this is from Jack Bateman. Thoughts on the Punisher series? Number 1, brilliant. Number 2, not so good. On the Punisher series, that's going back a bit, isn't it?
I was to say, I don't know if he's talking comics or TV.
I don't know. You need to clarify that because there's a lot of different Punishers. Do you think the Punisher will turn up in the MCU? Because obviously we're gonna get Daredevil. So once Daredevil comes into the MCU, therefore everyone who was in the Daredevil, the Defenders series is going to be canon, isn't he?
Yeah, and I've definitely heard rumors that they liked everyone who was in the shows, as far like Marvel Netflix shows, because I think they want Kristen Ritter back as well for Jessica Jones. I don't think the guy who's playing Luke Cage is going to be coming back.
No, because Luke Cage is crap.
I like Luke Cage.
No, it'll be just the main guys, and obviously we're going to get Kingpin as well, aren't we? Oh, Kingpin's coming back. That's happening.
Again,
D'Onofrio.
The rumor is he's coming back in Hawkeye.
Yeah, D'Onofrio's coming back in Hawkeye. That would be amazing. That would be so good.
Which that show's starting to look stacked, by the way, because you've got Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, you've got Yelena Belova. There's a new character in called Echo, which is very I can't remember his name. The villain from Black Widow.
You had me at the
it.
dog.
Pete's the dog.
Mac O'Shea says, and this is a good one. Well, I mean, it's not really a question, it's more a statement, but it's worth just chatting about for 5 minutes.
Okay.
The new Suicide Squad was good.
So good.
Did you like?
Good.
I liked it, but I didn't think it was amazing. I thought I did like it, and I thought the way they handled all the different characters, and the plot was good, and I liked the music, and it was very James Gunn. But I didn't think it was amazing. I'm not going to go overboard about it. I really not, and I'm not. That's not my allegiances to Marvel over DC. By the way, if something's a good film, I'll call it a good film, and I was willing it to be really good because it's James Gunn, who I absolutely love, because it's James Gunn. But I didn't think it was amazing. I liked it, and it's about 1,000,000 times better than the other one.
Oh,
but I thought it was like I liked it, and it's solid. But I think it was amazing. But that's just me.
I loved it because it was so messy and just batshit crazy. Like, it's just all over. But it was just silly. I think I just enjoyed it. Like, I haven't seen anything like that for a while. That's just it, because it's just all over the place. It just felt like something different for me. So, and I laughed pretty hard, and it's gory. Like, it gets you to kind of react where, that's what James Gunn wants you. He wants you engaged and reacting. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I've been meaning to watch it again. I just haven't found the time.
I enjoyed it. I just didn't think it was amazing, but I did enjoy it. Yosef says, if you could kill any Marvel characters like James Gunn's Suicide Squad style, who would you pick and why?
Are we talking about MCU? Well, I guess we have to talk about MCU characters, right?
I couldn't bring myself to kill anyone in the MCU. I couldn't. I loved them too much. I just couldn't. There's nobody.
I was gonna say they're all your babies. Like, no.
Hawkeye maybe, but then we met his family. I'm like, no, I can't kill him. He's been through too much. Don't give me hope.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm gonna have to ponder that one.
Have a think. Let's have a look. Who else? What else have we got? Last of the Corinthians says, what do you think or know of the new Tolkien series coming to Amazon? I know nothing apart from they filmed in New Zealand and now they're filming in England, and I don't know anything about it. When it comes, I'll watch it because I like the Lord of the Rings. I don't know what they're gonna do, whether they're gonna go like more in depth or offer us more. The irony is, I'm not a great book reader, yet I've read the whole of the Lord of the Rings. It is
really?
like that.
That's surprising.
It is like that. I've read all of it, and there's a lot of other stories in it, and also the end is different as well, because when they go back to the Shire, in Lord of the Rings, it's not like when they go back to the Shire in the film. I understand why they didn't put it in the film, because it's like it's another thing. So I hope it's different. I was gonna say, do you know what? Like, I've obviously watched the films, and I love The Hobbit as a book, but I've not been. And I know this. I feel like I'm like being like crazy here with the heretic, but like, I'm not a big fan of the films, and I know people love them, but I just never really took to them much. But I'll still watch the new series. But I have heard that Amazon Prime is putting an absolute wad of money behind all the money.
Huge amount of money.
Know how much money I had to put into it? Space money.
Whoa.
That's how much money they're putting into it. Space money. We're all going to have to buy like one extra like bulb or something. I don't know.
Just to fund this. You're going to have to buy an Echo Dot just to come and watch this. But yeah, no, I admit, I think they released some images recently and people were going nuts because it revealed some sort of location that was talked about in the books, but it's kind of lost on me. But everyone seems excited about it. But it's been pretty quiet.
Jack says with John Bernthal in the feel like the writing let down the second series. I feel like the second series was rushed because they probably knew it was all getting kicked into touch. I
was gonna say, I think we talked about it on one of the podcasts. Like, we really enjoyed the first half. Like, it felt like it had some pace behind it, but then as you get to the second half, it felt like it just gets lost.
Yeah.
Like he
This
doesn't
is
know
an
what to do.
So Mac O'Shea says, randomly, do you any of you guys watch heavy spoilers? Do you watch heavy spoilers?
I don't.
I am aware
Usually
of it.
New rock stars.
Yeah. He said he's my mate. He got sacked from his teaching job because he was a rap battler and started a YouTube channel and is now one of the most watched channels.
That's insane.
That's amazing.
That's quite a story.
That's like the plot of Warrior when he gets sacked as being a teacher because he's fighting in car parks and then he ends up being the champion and wins £5 million, beating his brother in the process. Yusuf says the starfish was a weak villain. Could you imagine if he actually got like Superman against the Suicide Squad?
I'm not having that. Starro's amazing.
I tell you what,
like, such a comic deep cut as well.
I did like the scenes when they were in space. That was weird, and when they brought him on, and it was like, blah, and I was like, oh, that was horrible.
That's what I mean. It's supposed to just be uncomfortable, like, and Starro is like, he's been in loads of comics as well, like, because Suicide Squad is just a weird property.
It is,
and that's why I'm glad, like, James Gunn took it on. Like, there was a T-Day Key with his arms floating through the air. Funny scene.
I liked Taika Waititi's little cameos. Ratcatcher though, that was good.
Yeah, I was surprised about that one.
Ratcatcher 2 is the best person in it, to be honest.
She was amazing.
She's brilliant. Whammy Spoon says Bernthal was best in Daredevil season 2 as Punisher. He was. That was the best. When season 2 Daredevil was Punisher, that was the best Punisher, and that was the best season of Daredevil, I thought.
Season 3 was good with Daredevil, but I think again we talked about that the finale just kind of didn't quite match, because that's when you had Kingpin being like real Kingpin as well, like getting everything from behind the scenes. Like that's what I'm excited to see more of him. It's a great character.
Jake, we've already spoke about Shang-Chi earlier on. Make sure you rewatch this or catch the podcast. Let me. Whammy Spoon says Starro was not a villain. He's just a space starfish that shouldn't have been messed with. Exactly. They experimented. They do say that in the film. To be fair, without ruining it, they do basically say this dickhead with light bulbs coming out of his head has been shoving things in places he shouldn't be. Why do you think I'm a bit angry?
Yeah.
Essentially,
it's like I was just happy floating.
Yeah, I was just a floaty star in space, and these dicks at NASA brought me in thinking, before Elon Musk got their hands on me. Like, mate, that was it. I'd just been hit by Elon Musk's car in space. Why are you putting a car in space, you bellend? Do something productive
now,
on Earth.
I was going to say, well, now he's building robots.
No.
With artificial intelligence. Like,
have you not seen iRobot? You idiot. Do something productive, like make affordable electric cars, or something good for the Earth, you massive helmet. They
say there's a thin line between genius and insanity.
Yeah. Thinner than the VAR lines, the knobhead. Let me just finish off by saying, right, I watched last week, just to finish off. I watched the latest Fast and Furious film.
Oh God, why?
Right.
How was it?
Jesus H. Christ. Jesus. Like
oh man.
I don't mind the Fast and Furious films to a point where, like, the one that, like, the second reboot one where they went to Brazil and they were doing all cool stunts to rob this bank.
Is that the one? I was gonna say the one with the Rock and all that.
Yeah, it's good. It was loud. Like, the cars are like superheroes. I can't even tell you what happens in this because it would spoil it. But it is the stupidest thing you've ever seen. Like, there's a line where you go, no, you're taking the piss now. You're taking and you know what? It wasn't even the scene when a car jumped off a cliff and was caught by a magnet on the bottom of a plane. That was just like Tuesday. Honestly, that was just like a Tuesday for these fellas. The thing that happens at the end of the film is no, hang on, Whammy Spoons. He does not make affordable electric cars. Affordable electric cars are, cheap. They're not like, Anyway, so something happens in this film. I'll tell you when we finish because it's just nonsense. I can't say on air because someone might want to watch this film. But oh my god, it's ridiculous. Oh my god, ridiculous, and he wants to make another one. Like, the most ridiculous thing in it isn't saying to his 3-year-old that you are now allowed to say grace at the table. What are you talking about? He's a child. What was he going to say? I am thankful for another day on this earth, and the fact that you didn't get my face and put video technology over it. You know, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah. I don't know why you subjected yourself to it, to be honest.
I was sitting there and I thought, I'll watch this because why not? Why not? But Jesus Christ. John Cena just happens to be his long lost brother. John Cena, he's the whitest white man ever. And he just happens to be Vin Diesel's brother.
I completely,
what are you talking about?
Completely forgot that John Cena was in this.
Unbelievable. It's like John Cena, he's the flavour of the month. He's not quite The Rock. We couldn't get The Rock because we had a big falling out, me and Vin. Yeah. So let's get John Cena.
Speaking of,
go on.
Everyone should go watch Vacation Friends on Friday.
Can't say nothing. No, we're not allowed to say anything about it till next week.
Nope, that's it.
Not allowed to say anything. But it's fun. It's on Disney Plus and Hulu next week, depending on where you are. If you're in the UK and Europe, it's on Disney Plus. If you're in America, it's on Hulu.
Do you know one thing I watched, which you told me to watch, which was very, very good, and I highly recommend to anyone who's out there who has a Netflix account, is How to Make a Tyrant. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, so cartoons. Good. You can never beat cartoons about Hitler. You just can't. You just can't. I want more.
It sounds so wrong,
I
but it's
want
such a good
more
documentary.
Hitler cartoons. I do. There's a market. There's a gap in the market for Hitler cartoons. You know,
it was legitimately educating.
Yeah, it was. It was amazing. Yeah. It was really good.
It was like four or 5 episodes or something.
No,
like
it's
that?
on Disney Plus today. Not Disney Plus, sorry. Netflix. There's a documentary about Bob Ross. I'm looking forward to it.
Really?
Yeah, documentary about Bob Ross.
Amazing.
There you go.
There's so many good documentaries on Netflix.
Jake Marley says, right, this is the last question I'm going to read out. Jake Marley says, any thoughts on CM Punk going to AEW? That one,
it was a good business decision because
No, it's boss.
Yeah, I agree.
It's boss. No, like, just a quick explainer for you is like, CM Punk hates like WWE. He hates Vince McMahon. He hates all of them essentially.
Okay.
And everyone who watches AEW, they all hate them as well. They started that on so because they hated.
Is this the one that was started by Chris Jericho?
Yeah, but the guy who owns it is he owns Fulham as well. Tony Khan. Okay. Basically, it's basically a load of people who hate WWE. So him coming into it is such a big thing because he absolutely hates Vince McMahon. Like, he's gone on. I've listened to a podcast with him where he's like, he hates him. He basically said in his promo, I retired from wrestling on this date, and that is the day he joined WWE. Like, he hates them. His wife worked for him, and after he left, he basically traumatized his wife till she left.
Jesus. I mean, I've heard stories from the past, like, because I mean, did you ever see that documentary with why am I forgetting his name? Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they just completely screwed him over.
Montreal screw job when he was supposed to win the belt, but he was leaving, so they rung the bell. So Shawn Michaels was winning. Oh yeah,
and they literally didn't tell him anything about it.
No, and then he spat in Vince's face. Oh, the politics of wrestling are a million times better than actual wrestling.
Actual story,
honestly, Bret Hart's book is incredible. I've got Bret Hart's book. It's incredible. Some of the things don't even want to say some of the things he used to get up to. Incredible. I love him. Bret's my favourite wrestler of all time. He's amazing. There you go. We are done. Our first podcast back. We will make this a regular thing. We'll be back next week. And we will make this a regular thing every week from now on. Hopefully, as we get more and more movies, more and more shows. There's
so much coming out in the fall to be talked about as well. Netflix has a huge schedule coming out. So I'm very excited.
That's autumn to me and you. No one knows what the fall is.
The
there you
fall,
go.
when the leaves fall.
There you go. So if you've watched us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you go and check out our actual YouTube channel as well, where we put out loads of reviews and stuff on. Please do that. I know it's weird that we have a YouTube channel, but we're doing it on here. But there is a reason I explained at the beginning. It's because I've got 50,000 followers. And we're trying to tap into them.
It's my channel, and I'll do what I want with it.
I got 53,000 followers, and I'm just trying to tap into some of them. There you go. And and the podcast as well. Listen to the podcast if you don't have time to watch this and you want to listen to a podcast form. Check out the podcast, search for it as well, and make sure you check us out on the socials as well. It is at Nerds Social Club. We have a Discord which is always jam packed of people having a chat at any time of the day because it's all over the world. And if it's any time of the day, I'm normally on it except for the mornings, which don't exist. There you go.
Time is
We'll
illusion.
be back next week. Time doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. That's been proved in the Marvel universe. We'll be back next week. Thank you for listening and watching. See you later. Bye.